There comes a time in every person's life when they must make a decision, either to keep chasing noise and approval, or to turn inward and build quietly. The world will always try to pull you in every direction. It will tell you what to think, how to act, and who to be. But the truth is, you cannot hear your own voice when you're busy listening to everyone else's. The moment you decide to focus on yourself, everything begins to shift. You stop reacting to the chaos around you and start responding to the calm within you. You begin to notice how much energy you once wasted on explaining, proving, or defending yourself. You see that silence is not weakness, it's power contained, directed, and controlled. When you stay quiet, you are not being passive. You are being intentional. You are observing. You are studying. You are preparing. The loudest person in the room rarely holds the most power. It's the one who listens, learns, and acts with precision who shapes their destiny. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't build a meaningful life while constantly comparing yours to someone else's. Growth begins when attention turns inward. When you focus on your habits, your health, your mindset, and your purpose, the world begins to align in ways you never thought possible. Every time you withdraw from distractions, you reclaim your energy. Every time you choose silence over argument, you strengthen your peace. Every time you invest in your own improvement instead of seeking validation, you build a foundation that no one can take away. The greatest transformations don't happen in the spotlight. They happen in the shadows of consistency. While others talk, you work. While others seek approval, you seek mastery. And one day, when the time is right, your results will speak with a volume your words never could. Remember, silence is not the absence of communication. It's the presence of control. Focusing on yourself means taking responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, and your direction. It means understanding that the only competition that truly matters is the person you were yesterday. You are not here to impress, you are here to evolve. You are not here to be seen, you are here to become. When you stay quiet and focus on your growth, the right opportunities will find you, the right people will respect you, and the right life will unfold before you. Because the truth is simple, when you focus on yourself and stay quiet, your life begins to change in ways noise could never create. There is a quiet revolution that begins the moment you turn your focus inward, when you decide that your time, your energy, and your attention are too valuable to be scattered on things that don't build you. Most people are addicted to noise, constant chatter, endless opinions, the pull of comparison. They wake up every day trying to keep up with the world, not realizing that true progress doesn't come from keeping up. It comes from slowing down and listening to yourself. When you focus on yourself and stay quiet, the distractions begin to fade and clarity begins to rise. You start seeing what really matters. You begin to understand that your life doesn't improve by chance, it improves by change, and that change begins within you. The power of silence is misunderstood. Silence is not emptiness. It is full of answers. It's in the quiet that ideas are born, strength is renewed, and direction becomes clear. The person who learns to sit with themselves in stillness gains control over the one thing that determines everything, their mind. While the world rushes and shouts, the focused individual builds quietly, brick by brick, habit by habit, thought by thought. You don't have to announce what you're doing, because in time your results will do the speaking for you. Silence protects your energy from being wasted on the opinions of others. It shields your dreams from those who might not understand them, and it gives you the mental space to create without interference. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's the foundation of a strong, stable, and purposeful life. When you invest in your own growth, when you study your thoughts, your reactions, and your patterns, you begin to see how much of your life has been shaped by distraction. You realize that your greatest battles are not external, they're internal. The doubts, the fears, the habits that hold you back, they all exist within. And by focusing on yourself, you take back the power to transform them. Every moment you spend in self-discipline strengthens your will. Every act of restraint refines your focus. Every time you choose peace over noise, growth over gossip, and effort over excuses, you move closer to the person you're meant to become. Staying quiet is not about disappearing from the world, it's about mastering your energy within it. It means understanding that not every opinion deserves a response, not every argument needs your participation, and not every setback deserves your attention. Silence allows your mind to reset, your emotions to stabilize, and your purpose to sharpen. When you stop explaining yourself, you start evolving. When you stop chasing validation, you start finding fulfillment. Your focus becomes like a laser, sharp, unwavering, and powerful enough to cut through every obstacle. Transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens when no one is watching, when you're alone with your thoughts, deciding who you will become. The hours of quiet work, the moments of reflection, the times when you choose to stay silent and keep building, That's where success is born. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. The universe rewards quiet consistency far more than loud intention. What you practice in silence will be revealed in public. What you focus on privately will become your reality publicly. When you begin to focus on yourself, the world might not notice at first, but your life will begin to change in ways too profound to ignore. You'll think clearer, move stronger, and act with purpose. You'll find that silence gives you control, focus gives you direction, and together they give you power. Because every great transformation begins in solitude. And when you stay quiet, you allow the noise of the world to fade, so that the sound of your own potential can finally be heard. There is something extraordinary that happens when you stop trying to be seen and start focusing on becoming. When you pull your attention away from the endless noise of comparison, approval, and judgment, you begin to realize how much of your power has been scattered. Every thought you give to what others think of you is a piece of your focus slipping away. Every moment you spend explaining your moves to people who will never understand them as energy that could have been spent building yourself. The real growth happens when you stop performing and start progressing. When you choose silence, you choose power, because silence creates space, and space creates clarity. Most people spend their lives trying to be heard, trying to be noticed, trying to prove they're worthy. But the truth is, you don't have to prove yourself when you are improving yourself. The results will do the talking. Quiet focus builds momentum, and momentum builds transformation. The person who spends their energy growing instead of talking will always outlast the one who chases attention. The louder the noise around you, the more valuable your silence becomes. When you stay quiet, you hear your thoughts more clearly. You begin to understand what you want, who you are, and what needs to change. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you cut the world off. It means you choose where to place your energy. It means you invest your time into things that build you rather than break you. You start noticing how powerful your focus really is, how every small choice shapes your direction, how every habit becomes a seed for your future. The mind is like a lens. Whatever you aim at, it expands. If you focus on distractions, they grow. If you focus on your purpose, it grows. That's why silence matters, because in silence, your focus is not scattered. It's centered. It's deliberate. It's precise. When you decide to stay quiet, you are not withdrawing from life. You are preparing for it. You are building yourself in the unseen hours, sharpening your thoughts, strengthening your habits, and clearing away the noise that clouds your judgment. The quiet phase of your life is not a pause, it's a preparation. It's the period where your roots grow deep, where your foundation becomes unshakable. People may not see what you're doing, but that's exactly how it should be. Real progress rarely announces itself, it simply reveals itself in time. Discipline thrives in silence. You start to understand that consistency doesn't need applause. You begin to value the satisfaction of growth over the validation of attention. You work while others talk, and when your moment comes, your results will echo louder than any words could. Silence protects your energy from those who don't understand your vision. It guards your peace from unnecessary noise and your dreams from being diluted by the opinions of others. The journey of focusing on yourself teaches patience. It teaches restraint. It teaches the difference between movement and progress. You start realizing that not every action leads to growth, and not every conversation deserves your attention. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to sit in silence and think, to listen, to realign. Because when you are quiet, your intuition speaks. It tells you where to go next, what to release, and what to embrace. Every person who has ever built something meaningful has gone through a season of silence. A time when the world didn't notice them. When no one clapped for their efforts, when progress seemed invisible. But that's the season where character forms, where strength develops, where confidence is born. When you focus on yourself and stay quiet, you stop reacting to life and start creating it. You stop being pulled by every wave and begin steering your own ship. The noise fades, the distractions dissolve, and what remains is you, clear, grounded, and ready to rise. There is a quiet strength that grows within a person who learns to focus on themselves without the need to announce it. When you withdraw from the noise of the world and bring your energy inward, you begin to discover how powerful you truly are. Most people chase attention, not progress. They crave recognition more than transformation. But the truth is, the most powerful changes happen in silence, when no one is watching, when there is no audience to impress, only a purpose to fulfill. Focusing on yourself is not about isolation, it's about elevation. It's the decision to stop scattering your energy across things that don't serve your growth and start investing it into the person you're becoming. Silence becomes your ally when you understand that not everything needs to be said, not every thought deserves expression, and not every plan should be shared. The more you speak of your goals, the more you invite interference, doubt, and distraction. But when you stay quiet, your energy builds. it becomes concentrated, strong, and unstoppable. Your silence turns into focus, your focus turns into consistency, and consistency turns into transformation. What you create in silence will eventually make noise on its own, and that is the kind of noise that cannot be ignored. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see how much of your life was once spent reacting to others. Their expectations, their opinions, their judgments. They all influenced your path in ways you didn't notice. But the moment you decide to take your attention back, you regain control over your destiny. You start to listen to your own voice instead of the voices around you. You realize that the direction of your life depends entirely on what you choose to feed your mind. When you focus on your thoughts, you begin to understand how they shape your reality. When you focus on your emotions, you gain power over your reactions. When you focus on your actions, you start to build the future you truly want. Staying quiet doesn't mean you stop engaging with the world. It means you start engaging with yourself on a deeper level. You begin to observe rather than react, to think rather than speak, to plan rather than announce. You give yourself room to breathe, to grow, and to refine. Silence becomes a space of power where clarity is born. The person who learns to stay calm in chaos, to stay silent in noise, and to stay focused in distraction becomes unshakable. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing you no longer need to prove yourself. You let your work, your discipline, and your growth speak for you. Every moment you choose to stay quiet, you're choosing mastery. You're mastering your mind, your emotions, and your impulses. You start to see that silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning. It's in silence that you begin to recognize the patterns that hold you back and the habits that move you forward. You realize that your power grows when you stop giving it away. You stop seeking validation and start finding self-respect. You stop talking about what you're going to do and start doing it. And in time, that quiet work creates results that cannot be ignored. Growth is a personal process and it demands privacy. Seeds grow in darkness before they reach the light, and people are no different. When you focus on yourself, you're planting seeds of change deep within. You might not see the results right away, but with patience and persistence, they will appear. The quiet effort, the late nights, the discipline when no one is watching. These are the moments that define you. The world rewards those who are consistent, not those who are loud. Your silence doesn't mean you're invisible. It means you're becoming unstoppable. Because once you've mastered the art of focusing on yourself and staying quiet, there's nothing left to prove, only everything left to become. There is a point in life when you begin to understand that your progress depends on your ability to withdraw from noise and direct your energy inward. The world is filled with distractions, constant opinions, and endless competition for attention. Everywhere you look, people are shouting to be noticed, desperate to be seen, but very few are doing the quiet, disciplined work that leads to real change. When you focus on yourself and stay quiet, you step into a space where growth becomes possible, where peace replaces pressure, and where confidence begins to rise from within. You realize that your energy is your most valuable currency, and wasting it on validation arguments or comparisons is the fastest way to stay stuck. Silence becomes a shield, a form of protection for your mind and your goals. When you stop explaining your vision to people who cannot see it, you preserve your belief. When you stop justifying your choices to those who don't understand them, you keep your focus pure. The truth is, most people don't need to know what you're doing. They only need to see the results when the time comes. Quiet progress is powerful because it builds strength without resistance. When you keep your goals private, they grow without interference. When you work in silence, your actions compound without distraction. The moment you make peace with being unseen for a while, you open the door to becoming unstoppable later. Focusing on yourself is an act of discipline. It requires the courage to turn your attention away from what everyone else is doing and look inward. You begin to notice your thoughts, your patterns, your habits, and how much they determine your direction. The quality of your life is the reflection of what you focus on every single day. When you focus on yourself, your focus becomes sharper, your actions more deliberate, and your mind more grounded. You stop reacting to the noise around you and start creating from the calm within you. In that space, growth happens naturally because your energy is no longer scattered. It's aligned, intentional, and directed toward your purpose. There is something sacred about silence. It teaches patience. It builds awareness, and it strengthens resolve. When you stay quiet, you give yourself time to understand before responding, to think before acting, and to grow before announcing. The world rewards noise in the short term, but it rewards depth in the long term. The person who is grounded in silence doesn't need to chase recognition because they understand that true success is not about being noticed. It's about being fulfilled. You stop needing the world to see your progress because you can feel it within yourself. Every small victory, every quiet breakthrough, every moment of peace becomes proof that you are evolving. When you focus on yourself, the outside world begins to lose its power over you. You stop being influenced by opinions, trends, or pressure. You stop comparing your timeline to others. You realize that growth is not a race, it's a process. The person who moves quietly builds momentum that cannot be interrupted. While others waste time seeking validation, you're building something real, something that doesn't need to be shouted about, because it speaks through results. The more you practice silence, the more control you gain over your emotions, your reactions, and your focus. That control becomes confidence, and that confidence turns into freedom. Every great transformation begins in private. It begins in the quiet hours when no one is watching, when it's just you and your determination. It begins when you stop needing to prove your worth and start living it. The quiet builder, the disciplined thinker, the focused dreamer, these are the ones who rise the highest because they understand that silence is not emptiness, it's concentration. You don't need to make noise to make progress. You don't need attention to create impact. The real change happens when you focus on yourself and stay quiet long enough for your growth to speak for itself. There is a moment in every person's life when they realize that not everyone will understand their vision. Not everyone will support their journey, and not everyone deserves access to their energy. That is the moment you begin to turn inward, to focus on yourself, to build in silence, and to let your actions speak for you. The world around you thrives on noise, opinions, comparisons, and constant distractions, but real transformation happens in quiet places. When you decide to stay silent and focus on your growth, you start to see life differently. You begin to notice how much of your potential has been buried beneath unnecessary noise, how much of your energy has been wasted trying to explain yourself, and how much progress you can make once you stop doing both. Silence is not weakness, it's a form of wisdom. It's the realization that not everything requires your response and not every battle deserves your attention. When you stay quiet, you create space for understanding. You begin to listen more than you speak. You observe patterns, notice truths, and see opportunities that loudness hides. The person who knows how to be quiet gains control over their emotions, their reactions, and their direction. The world may mistake your silence for indifference, but in reality, it's focus. It's the discipline of someone who has chosen growth over gossip, peace over proving, and progress over performance. Focusing on yourself is an act of strength. It's choosing to build when no one is watching. It's committing to improvement when applause is absent. It's realizing that external validation is temporary, but inner growth is permanent. You start to understand that success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the person capable of holding it. The more you focus inward, the more the world outside begins to shift. You stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. You stop trying to control everything and start mastering yourself. The more you build self-discipline, the less control external circumstances have over you. The quiet phase of your life is where the foundation of greatness is formed. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, and it's rarely celebrated, but it's necessary. That's where you learn patience, resilience, and consistency. That's where you shape your habits and sharpen your mindset. Most people want results, but few are willing to endure the silence that produces them. They want recognition before mastery, praise before progress, attention before action. But the truth is, every meaningful achievement begins in private. When you focus on yourself and stay quiet, you become unstoppable because your motivation no longer depends on anyone else. You're no longer driven by attention, you're driven by purpose. The power of silence is that it amplifies what truly matters. It helps you see your priorities clearly, it clears mental clutter, and it brings peace to your thoughts. When you stop explaining your goals, you free yourself from the weight of expectation. When you stop sharing every move, you protect your dreams from doubt. You start to understand that privacy is not secrecy, it's security. Your silence gives your growth room to breathe. It allows your energy to gather strength until your results become undeniable. The most powerful people are often the quietest because they understand that noise doesn't create power. Focus does. When you learn to stay quiet, you also learn to listen. Not just to others, but to yourself. You start hearing your intuition more clearly. You begin to trust your instincts. You realize that silence is not empty, it's full of answers. The more you practice it, the more confident you become in your own direction. And with every day you spend focused on your personal growth, your mind becomes sharper, your spirit stronger, and your life calmer. You no longer chase anything. You attract everything that aligns with your purpose. The world starts to reflect the strength you built in silence, and without ever having to announce it, your life begins to speak for itself. There comes a point when you realize that the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is to stop talking about what you're going to do and simply start doing it. The moment you stop explaining your vision and start building it, something shifts within you. The noise of the world begins to fade, and your mind finds a kind of peace that only focus can bring. When you focus on yourself and stay quiet, you start to see how unnecessary most of the noise truly is. You begin to understand that progress does not come from attention, it comes from alignment. The world is loud, filled with endless opinions, distractions, and illusions of success, but when you withdraw from that noise and turn inward, you discover a deeper rhythm, one that belongs only to you. Focusing on yourself means taking full responsibility for your life. It means acknowledging that your growth is no one else's job. It's not about isolation or selfishness, it's about ownership. When you decide to improve quietly, you're not rejecting the world, you're refining yourself for it. You begin to see that every moment of silence is an opportunity to build clarity. Every hour of focus is a step closer to mastery. The more you work in silence, the more power you accumulate. Your energy, once scattered, becomes sharp and deliberate. You start to attract peace instead of chaos, purpose instead of confusion, results instead of recognition. There is a kind of freedom that comes from no longer needing to explain yourself. You realize that not everyone will understand your journey, and that's perfectly fine. You no longer chase validation because you understand that approval is temporary, but discipline is lasting. When you stay quiet, you become untouchable by doubt, immune to negativity, and centered in your own lane. The person who moves in silence carries a different kind of strength, calm, consistent, unshaken. While others are busy talking about their goals, you're busy becoming yours. The difference between most people and those who succeed is that the latter learn to stay silent during the process. In the silence, you grow without distraction. You begin to notice the small shifts, your thoughts becoming clearer, your confidence strengthening, your discipline solidifying. You begin to take pride not in being seen, but in being prepared. You stop measuring success by who's watching and start measuring it by how much you've evolved. The quiet work that no one sees is the foundation of every visible victory. The long hours, the repetition, the self-discipline. These are the elements that create success, and they don't require an audience. Staying quiet gives you control over your energy. You stop wasting it on unnecessary conversations, arguments, or explanations. You start protecting it like something sacred. You begin to understand that your peace is the foundation of your power. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you grow stronger. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you move closer to who you're meant to become. You stop being influenced by the noise around you because you've learned to trust the stillness within you. The quiet mind becomes a powerful force because it's no longer scattered. It's centered, deliberate, and aligned with purpose. The journey of focusing on yourself and staying quiet teaches patience. It teaches restraint. It reminds you that everything meaningful takes time, and that most of your transformation will happen unseen. People may not notice your growth right away, but they will feel it eventually. You don't have to tell the world who you're becoming. You just have to become it. When you dedicate yourself to improvement and stay silent about it, your results will speak with a power that words never could. Silence is not emptiness. It's strength under control. It's peace in motion. It's the space where greatness begins, grows, and ultimately reveals itself without ever needing to shout